Hey everyone, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. So I want to have a chat with you guys. What if your coworker pulls up in a brand new Tesla and you're like, oh my god, that thing is awesome, and yes, the car is awesome, but what goes through your mind? Is it A, wow, that person must make a lot of money, or is it B, wow, that person must be going into a lot of debt? And I want you to really think about this, because it sort of says how you think about money and how you think about other people and how you think about spending money. And going into the interest rate environment that we're going to, where interest rates are going up, and I just got an email today, like savings accounts gives you 3% return, which is kind of crazy because for a long time it was basically zero. I want you to reevaluate how we're planning with money, because right now, for those of you who say have variable loans, be it your home mortgage or be your auto loan, are gonna get killed on interest rates. And suddenly having that 10-year-old car laying around your house, or say laying around, but having a 10-year-old car at your house that seems to work fine, may not necessarily be a bad deal, because I know that the way marketing goes and the way that sort of your neighbors act is like everyone has to buy a new car, a new phone, new clothes, new couch, everything new all the time, but it may not necessarily be the right decision for you. And one of the things that I think is important is like, how do we think about money? For some people, they think that spending money is a way to prove that they are successful. You can show all these people around you like, oh, look how great I am, I just bought this. Look how great I am, I just bought this. But what I'm proposing to you is think about money as being freedom and security to do what you want to do. And this is sort of why I stay young, and something that I've mentioned to you guys many times on this channel. Sometimes people ask me, how do I stay young? You might know I'm pushing 50, is because freedom keeps you young. One of the things is, like, I've been watching, and you guys have been watching the channel as well, the whole situation over at Twitter where like Elon Musk is making people work 7 days a week. He's having these all hands on deck meetings on a Sunday, firing people on a Sunday, and it's just like, that's just too much stress. That would just totally give me gray hairs, and there's no way I would stick around. But some people, if you're in a lot of debt and you're kind of in a situation to where like you feel like you can't leave, you're kind of stuck. The other situation that happens to people as well, not only do you have a lot of debt, you may not feel like you have the skills that you can take elsewhere. And so I think there's a couple lessons to learn from this. Is one, always be saving and planning for possible rainy days in the future. That is a real thing. Some people say maybe 6 to 9 months, right, of your salary saved up just for these kind of situations. The other thing is too as well is always be training to have skills that are useful today, because this is also a real thing for people at Twitter, which I get, people writing comments that say, oh, we got to cut out the fat of the workplace, which I think is real for many companies. But in this kind of situation where we are going to recession, where there's many companies that need to cut costs, be it Disney's announcing they're cutting people. We noticed that they just fired the CEO. Is you got to be constantly upgrading your skills and not just resting on your laurels, thinking about, okay, how can I make sure that I still stay relevant today, that in the event that my job were to fire me, that there would be another place for me to go, because I have skills that people need, I have skills that people want, and I have skills that people will pay me money to do. It's interesting too, guys. I just got an email, I don't know if you guys get these kind of emails as well, like banks are giving out for savings accounts 3% interest, which is really, really high, considering in the past it used to be zero. So, when people say like cash is trash, I mean, cash means you're not gonna lose, right? Yes, I get the argument that there's inflation, but the thing is, like, you're not necessarily really gonna lose that much, and you're gaining some percentage on that, and there's no risk. And so I really want to emphasize with you guys right now. So I think cash is all right. Two, I think pay down any kind of debts that are variable interest, because interest rates are going to keep climbing. And also too, with the uncertainty in the markets, you're better off just paying off your debt. And so this is where I go back to when you see your coworker drive up with a brand new Tesla, do you think A, that person must make a lot of money, or B, that person is going into a lot of debt? And one of the things that I have always thought of, and I just want to share with you guys, like, I'm not that worried about what other people think about me. Like, if I drive a 10-year-old car, if I don't have a car, right? If I say I just take the bus or take the subway, these kind of things, like, why do I care what other people think about me? I think it's more important is I do with my money to pay off my debts and use that to create freedom to do things that I really want to do. I want to tell you guys a story back when I was in college. This is like something that everyone's probably had this experience before. I woke up in the morning, and that time I had a job at a bookstore. I was in college, and I turned on the TV, and it was the Rose Bowl, right? It was a holiday, and it was Oregon versus Penn State, and I grew up in Oregon, and I really wanted to watch the game. And I was watching the clock because I had to go to work that day, even though it was a holiday. And I remember telling myself, I'm never going to take that kind of job again where I'm going to miss things that I want to do. And that's just one example. I'm sure all of you have different examples of, like, you know what, it could be your husband's or wife's birthday, right? And you had something planned, and then your work calls and say, hey, I need you to come in for this important meeting. Or, you know, it could be a kid's soccer game, or it could be like your best friend's, you know, graduation. These kind of things, I just don't think are worth missing. And sort of like, when I think about money, I think about money of having the freedom to do those kind of things, or have the freedom to, say, travel, which I think is great. You know, doing things that like make you happy, necessarily that in a way that fulfills sort of your own needs, right? I'm not that concerned about what other people think. And one of the things that too, which I think is so important, is just having that freedom. And also too, which I was telling you guys many times with regarding freedom, regarding travel, regarding where you want to live, is, you know, one of my dreams, and this is sharing with you guys, is always have a job where I can wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm happy with what I do. You know, you guys don't know, I like, and everyone has this in their career where you get always a chance between, like, okay, I got this job offer, or you know, this job offer, and the one that pays the highest isn't necessarily always the best one, right? There are many factors to consider other than just pay. And this goes back to the whole Tesla thing. When you see someone pull in Tesla, do you think A, they must make a lot of money, or do you think B, they must go on a lot of debt, or you think C, right? The C is the one I'm thinking about, is like, okay, if they can indeed afford, did they pay cash? And then one of the things I always mention with you guys, with something like a car or anything like that, if you can't pay cash for those kind of things, then you probably should get a cheaper car. I know it's not fun and not cool to talk about this kind of stuff, but I think it's practical advice in order to stay healthy, right? Manage yourself, manage your money, and don't worry so much about what other people think. Worry about you, save, invest, and plan for the future. So thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.